Well, welcome back, everybody, to our Black History Month workshop series, and we're here with Jimmy Okech, and we're super excited to have you back in the kitchen, Jimmy. He came and worked with our classes for an entire week last week, so he got very comfortable in this kitchen.
Welcome. This is me setting up the stage for the cooking, and we have tomatoes. I'm slicing them up. The onions have been sliced up small pieces. Then we'll make a stew and some meat out of this, some beef stew out of this meat that's already cut. And then, we'll have chapatis, which is made out of wheat flour. Yeah, basically what some people call flat bread, or it's shallow frying. It's very easy to make, and for the most part, everything here is made from scratch, fresh. I like fresh food.
And it was so good,
Yeah.
y'all.
I always have fresh food at home, and that's how I was raised. My mom always cooked everything from scratch, and that's our style, So fresh is best. So this is very easy. Just cut the tomatoes. I like them very small so that when you're warming them up or frying them, they're not big pieces. My own daughters don't like this big pieces of tomatoes, so I try to make them as small as possible. And then you just boil them up, get some soup. I normally start with the onions until the onions become golden brown. So right now they are not ready yet because you want them to go from this color to golden brown. That's what they taught us as kids. You always look for the golden brown color.
Do you want to share about where you grew up and how you learned these recipes? And I also loved what you were sharing about your mom and how she taught the boys in your family how to cook.
Yeah, so I grew up in Kenya, East Africa, Kisumu, near Lake Victoria, and or around Lake Victoria. That was my hometown. And my mom was, she was raised in a culture where women were supposed to be cooking and doing everything with the kitchen. But my mom always made it her goal to turn that around, make sure that boys, we know how to cook, because she figured at some point we'll be single and without her nearby. So she made sure that we were learning how to cook, spending the time with her in the kitchen and doing the work that was supposed to be for the girls and for the women. And I tell you what, it worked because I know how to cook because of my mom. That's very true. Not because of my dad. Not that he wasn't doing anything with it, but he never knew how to cook. My mom did. And that's why I'm so proud of my mom for all the work that she did with us. And now we feel I can survive anywhere. I can cook for myself and for my family because of my mom. Even things like doing laundry, mopping the floor, cleaning the kitchen, just anything that ladies or girls were supposed to do, washing clothes, that was all supposed to be the girls' job. My mom made us do it. And I'm happy because I know how to do it. It was manual, but it worked, And I remember the weekends, my mom would sit all of us boys and give you the big pile of laundry and make sure that you sat down and washed by hand. Of course, there was no machine. Everything was hand washed. So that was very nice. But you learned how to do it, even with cooking. And my mom also, she didn't have this, formal way of teaching. It was all, you had to know it right there. There were so many of us in the house, and she was controlling everybody. So you had to pay attention very quick. And when she said, this much salt, there was no spoon to measure it. You'd use your hand and know just enough. And my mom used to say, you just need to know. When you know it, you know it. There's no writing, no recipe to write down, nothing like that. But again, it made you be quick. You became a quick learner. You knew how to do it. And once you mastered it, it was like super easy. I mean, it took time, but so is everything good, right? Everything good takes time. And so once you learn that even food and cooking takes time, you do it with so much love and enjoyment, then it's fun. It's like good food. When you don't like what you're making, then it's not tasting very good in the end. Yeah, so what you do, you use some warm water, not hot, make it warm to mix up the flour with that warm water. I don't add salt at this stage because I let people at the table figure out how much salt you want. And salt is not the best thing anyway. So I try to be very careful with salt. Some people can put some sugar in there. My sister does. I think it's a style that I don't know about, but she's very good. Definitely better than me, But once it's, I feel like I'm ready to start mixing with my hand, then I just add more water to it and get it very fine mix. And you can tell, you just know when it's ready. It gets more sticky, it's not ready. So you gotta keep mixing it up until it's one dough. Just make it as good as you can. And when it's ready, you can tell it doesn't get as sticky as much, and the whole thing stays together. And yeah, so it's coming along nicely.
Do you want to share? You were talking about how it's different than Indian chapatis.
Yeah. I think Indian chapatis are good, but they're hard, they're dry. I like Kenyan chapatis because they're soft. In Kenya, we always say the softer it is, the better it is. And people love soft. And so for me, I'm always shooting for that because that is how we made them. And in fact, my sisters, if they were making chapatis, they're way softer than mine. And that is so yummy. The Indian ones, I know they share a lot in common with us, but they like them crunchy. And to me, I don't like crunchy. And I don't think it's the best. But, some people maybe just like that. But yeah, and then I use a little bit of oil in my hand like that just to mix up, rub it in my hand. That way, the dough is nice and mixes up very well. You don't put too much of it because if you put too much, then it's also getting too much oil into the food, right? And you try and control how much oil we consume, But the oil helps to mix it finely. And you can see this is really coming along nice. And I try to use up all the flour in here to make it clean. One of my mom's rules was always being clean in the kitchen. And this is something you did. While you were cooking, you made sure that you cleaned up. But she always used to say, by the time you're done cooking, that kitchen needs to be clean.
What a gift your mom gave
Because
you.
nobody's there to clean it for you. It's
Yeah.
your job, right?
Yeah.
And because of that, you knew that I don't want to get too messy because who's going to clean it up? You, right?
Yeah.
So I always made it my goal, and I teach my girls too. And we know that when you're cooking, you try and clean up. The other thing about cooking these chapatis too is that it can get sticky on the walls, right? But you use up all the flour so that it doesn't get too sticky on it. So you can see I'm trying to make sure that I use up everything that is in there, and very soon, whatever is left are things that you have to wash, right? But this is coming along very well so far. We always saved one chapati in the kitchen. She always did. For us kids, whenever she was cooking, there was always one that was being eaten in the kitchen. She did that, and we loved it. It was the best because we would just be like sitting there watching her doing it, And then she saved one chapati for the kitchen. And that was always done. So I do the same thing with my kids. When I'm cooking at home, I always make sure there's one chapati that is either in the beginning or in the end, but I save it in the kitchen. I slice it, and people can come and have it as they wish. The reason why they do that is because if you see that the kids love it in the kitchen, you know it's good, right? But if they don't show any love or they don't like it, then you start doubting. But I do it to this day, and my girls love it. Every time I'm cooking, they come around and they wait for that one chapati they know is sitting somewhere. At this point, normally this is done. It's very nicely mixed up. And I start making them into small balls. I try to just make them fist size. Like if it fits in your fist, that's a perfect size for my hand, and that's enough for me to roll. So I make a few. And Kenyans, we like big chapatis, right? We also like a lot of chapatis. So you always make a good number, knowing that one person can eat easily 2 or 3. I do. So I make sure that if I'm making them, I make enough. In fact, this is less than myself, but I'm gonna be less here. So for 2 people, if we had 2 people, this would be enough for 2. But for the sake of teaching today, this is enough. We use our fingers measuring. When my mom said a pinch of salt, it's just this much.
Yeah.
And sometimes she would open up her palm like this and say, just if it fits perfectly in the center of your palm, that's all you need.
That's perfect.
No more than that. And even with like spices, you just had to know this much or this much, and that's all she did. She never told you use a spoon, tablespoon, or size. In fact, I find it very difficult to do that, even in the US now.
Yeah.
One of the things that I also like to do is make them round, if you can, because when you start rolling them, it's easier to go from round balls to making them rounder and rounder on the table, And sometimes my sister, the way she does it, she lets them sit and covers them. And I've seen her do that, where she covers them with like a towel and lets them sit there for some time before she starts cooking them. Me, on the other hand, I just roll them, and I know that it only works. It's always worked like that for me. But like I said, there's several levels of cooking chapatis. There are those who know it, and then there are those who really know how to do it in different levels. My sister is one of those. All my sisters are, because again, they had to be very, very good. And some of them were exceptional, like very good. Yes, we'll start with, we'll let this sit for a little bit before we start rolling them. We'll start with the onions, fry them up, do the tomatoes and the beef. About that. I like to slide things. I use my fingers quite a bit when I'm cooking, so not to burn yourself. This is not hot yet, so so you can slide them in, And then I'm gonna boil the meat. Now, the one thing about the meat too is I don't keep the first round of water that's from boiling it. My mom never did. We always bought meat from the butcher, like straight from the shop, and we always washed it, you boiled it, and then you got rid of the first soup out of it. So for the sake of the chapatis, I like to have an open top like this one for a frying pan. So you see the difference, there's 2. This one is not the best for making chapatis because I like the head part of it to be flat compared to this one. So I'll save this one most of the time for chapatis, and then this one I'll save it for the onions, for frying the onions. All of these can go at the same time, and basically we're just letting them boil for a little bit. The beef is going, the tomatoes are going, The onions will be frying here. We'll put some oil, a little bit, but the first few minutes we'll let it just sit on the heat to warm up. And then one thing that I do too, while all this is cooking, we can start with the rolling of, the chapatis, just to set the stage, because these won't take long. And once this is all cooked, the chapatis just start going, It's very easy that way. Ready? All right. So we're gonna set them up and get ready for rolling. The goal is I like to have a table like this. The goal is to make it round. And I do like 1, 2, 3. If I was to count, like my people here, I would do 1, 2, 3, flip. Okay, 1, 2, 3, flip it. So then that way I have the same rhythm going back and forth all around. So you try and do the edges, make them flat, because the edges have a tendency of being thicker, because we start with the center, so that part is always flat. But if you don't go to the end, you'll find that you'll miss the evenness that you want. You want it to be as round as possible, as even as possible. And you see how smooth the surface is? That's your end goal for the chapatis before they start cooking. And it's easier to move around when it's flat like that. This is a perfect thin size. You don't want it to be too thick. You just want it to be nice and round. Sometimes you don't get a perfect shape, but you come close. Again, you just do 1, 2, 3, flip it, 1, 2, 3. It helps if you get a rhythm going. And I flip it more because I don't want it to get sticky on the table. And sometimes when I have so many of them all ready and warm, like rolled up, I still come back around and I flip them intentionally until I'm ready to cook, because then they don't get sticky on the table or on the shelf. I get rid of the first round of the stew from the beef. So then that's done. I just like to get rid of all that water away completely. So that one is done there. We'll put that on the side. Check the tomatoes. It's boiling nice. It's starting to really get nice and warm. We'll get that one going. The onions, yeah, it's looking very good so far. See, I don't put oil right away until I turn it around at least once. But you can tell it's starting to get some color out of it. Some, a little bit yellowish, just a touch. So it's coming along. So we'll let it sit again. But this stew is coming along very well. The tomato soup is coming along very, very well. So I'm very proud of it. You want it to be very much liquidy, because people like soup when it is something you can almost like drink. It's actually quite nice in the winter. I like it because if I can just have that and drink it, I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I put like just a little bit of the bouillon cubes and some beef masala, which is a very Kenyan thing. Every family in Kenya has those. You have, you say, I want beef masala. Everybody knows what you're talking about. The onions are going really well. See, I can see them. It's turning nice. That's the point where I can get some oil, just enough to get. See, that's all that you need, and then you just get enough to get it sizzling. Sometimes people don't like raw onions. Plus, raw onions gives you bad breath. The soup is all good. Yeah.
Delicious.
So this is all that's left. And then I'm going to mix them up. And I'm going to take the onions into the tomato one. Then mix up the two very well. That's very good. This is for the rice, pilau masala. We use it on the rice. Every time you hear the word pilau means rice. Okay. And the other thing that I also brought with me was tea masala. This is also for tea. Basically, goes by the name, but it smells so good. And then for beef, we have Royco. Royco is a very popular brand of a spice in Kenya, Royco. And then we also have the beef masala, which goes very well with the beef. And these are the spices. And then on top of that is just the salt, if you want some. So I just put a little bit, sprinkle just a touch. Not too much, but that should be enough. And then I'm gonna do a little bit of this one. Again, the smell. I can smell it. I love it. My mom always measured it. You know, everything is very small, but you measure it with your hands. And then you mix it up. Just let it sit down and let it chill, and you can start smelling it. You know, make sure that all that good stuff goes in there. So now we can go back and roll more chapatis. Now, sometimes I can make double the size of these chapatis.
Wow. Do you have a pan big enough for that?
Yes, I do.
Wow.
And in fact, I make sure of it. One other thing, that's another thing about Kenya is when I grew up, chapatis were like double this size. Like two of these would make one. And people loved it. The bigger it was, you know, the more people loved it. And you only had a few and you're full, maybe two, right? But at this rate, I can eat 3 very easy. And it's, you know, you'd be surprised. Once you start eating chapatis and you like it so much,
you can't stop.
You can't stop, yeah. The earliest ones can get sticky, so you try and make sure you can flip them. This is something you do. The earliest ones, you try and flip them every so often. And sometimes my sisters, what they do, they even let them sit again. And they come back around. But the one thing that you do is make sure you flip them around so they don't get sticky. Because if you can lift it off the shelf, you can lift it to the stove. I start at a medium heat, you know, get the pan warmed up. Now I'm gonna do something here on camera that you shouldn't really practice at home if you don't know what you're doing. I always make sure that I tap it just a touch, okay?
Oh, you tap the pan.
I tap the pan, making sure that I can tell that it's getting there. You always have the container of oil, and you have a small bowl like this one. And then you just empty some oil in it. And my mom taught us this. You never cooked from here. You always cooked from this small bowl. The reason why you did that is because, one, you can keep it safe at a safe distance from the stove, right? And you can easily pick up from here to here versus trying to get it from here. This is plasticky. Most of the time we used one that was metal or stainless, you know, a steel. Then you just have it next to the stove there. Then that way you can easily grab in a little bit at a time. I also wanted to show you is a hot pot. These are extremely useful. Hot pots are like hot cakes in Kenya. We love hot pots. And these things are amazing. They'll keep your food warmed up for hours and hours. And you just close it, you slide it, and it opens up. I haven't seen too many of them in the US, but they're in Kenya in every home. And they're so nice, and you always have one on the side because a big part of that, check again. Don't do that if you don't know what you're doing. And you start with just a little bit of oil, spread it around. Make sure that it's warming up nicely, all spread. Not too much, not too hot, but that's ready to go. I'm gonna get the first chapati here. See if it's nice, it doesn't get any sticky. So again, Chapatis has one goal when you start cooking it. Golden brown. That's your ultimate goal. Golden brown, evenly spread, brown color everywhere. That's what you want. And you keep flipping it. So you lift up one side, then you see one side has had a share of oil a little bit. So you try and wait for the other side to pick up just a touch and give it some oil, always on the side, not from the center, around the ring. You know, don't do it from the center because that doesn't do anything. So you just keep moving it around and let it, cook for a little bit. And then you flip it again. So it's a matter of flip one side, gets brown and browner, flip the other side. And again, I use my fingers to hold it, and then I flip it. So now it's starting to turn brownish a touch. So you can see there's some white spots, but you can see the beginning of the brown is starting to show. And that's what you want, you know. You don't want to get too hot. You don't want to get, too low either because you want it to be cooked properly. I try to also push it down a little bit on the sides. If you see, my focus is not in the center because the heat comes, mostly from the center here. So you find me trying to push on the edges because those are the parts that don't cook all the time. So you have to know now it's starting to turn brownish. You have to keep working yourself with a spoon around the edges. And again, this is a good art. Like you gotta get used to doing it, and you can tell this is starting to cook nicely. You don't want to put too much oil either because, like I said, we try and reduce the amount of oil that we use when you're cooking. My mom never had enough oil anyway, so we learned to really save it. But yeah, so that's the art. So this is coming along nice. And sometimes you just have to check the sides. You can see I'm doing the same thing. I just go on the sides, I spread around the oil. I'm gonna turn up just the heat, just a touch. There you go. And at this point, this hot pot is ready to go. I typically just keep it on the side, and my children know once I have that hot pot, something good is in there.
Something's about to happen.
Yeah. So yeah, but like I said, so this is coming very close to being done. There's something else I'm gonna show you. So my mom taught us this too. When you're making chapatis like this one, you want to make sure that you use up all the oil on it. So when it's close to being done, this is what I do. You take one chapati like this, and you lay it on top of the one on the pan like this. So I know that the other side is also done. This is something that we do. You put it on top of it, and looks like, what are you doing, right? But I'm soaking up the oil from that side.
Oh.
Then when I flip it, I go like that, right? Then I let this side also dump all the oil. So you do that. And then now this one has no oil. You leave the other one in, keep the other one on the side, keep it closed. Yeah, here we go. We just do one more. Let it set. So you see, like this side, this is golden. This is very good. And same thing with this side. This is golden. That's the color that you want. That's the design, the brownness, the golden brown. That's very well. That's a very good chapati. I gotta show you something here. These chapatis are soft. They're supposed to stay soft. You can tell, they're hot, but they're still very soft. And this is what we do with the hot pots. It keeps the chapatis nice and soft. And when we serve it, it's nice and warm. Kenyan food is served hot, warm, that is. And it's always on the go. That's how we say it. You cook enough, when it's ready, it's fresh, it is warm, it's hot, everybody's enjoying it, it's so lovely. That's it. It's very simple. You gotta make food with love. Then you enjoy your food,
Yeah.
I'm proud of this stuff because my mom made us really enjoy it, and we love this stuff. And another thing I should also mention too, chapatis are known for special occasions in Kenya. Whenever we have Christmas, you know chapatis will be there. Easter, chapatis are guaranteed. National holidays, chapatis are guaranteed. Sometimes chapatis are not guaranteed because they are not regular meals that you might be making every single day. So you'll find that kids know when they smell chapatis,
Something special
something,
is happening.
something special is happening. And it's very rare for you to miss that because chapatis, they give the smell away, you know. There you go. So yeah, perfect.
And you said you try to make Kenyan food with your own kids?
Yeah, I make
every
this twice a week. I make it my goal to teach my children how to make this food. Adeli and Zuri, they know how to make this by now. And it's my intention to teach them right, but also to teach them how to make Kenyan food. So one thing I wanted to mention is that I come from a tribe in Kenya, okay? My tribe is called Luo, L-U-O. That's the name of my tribe. Kenya has about 42 tribes, right? We all speak different languages, different foods, cultures, different lifestyles. Some of us are fishermen. Like my tribe, we are called fishermen and women. We were raised around the fish, around Lake Victoria. So when we migrated from southern Sudan to Kenya, we always followed the waters, the water bodies, the lakes, the rivers. We came from a place called southern Sudan, and we followed the waters up until we got to Lake Victoria. So the reason why I bring that one up is because fish is special to us, and fish is healthy. My tribe really is big into fish, and that is, we are known for it. My mom can make you the best fish fry you can ever think of in this world. And my brother, Dave, my younger brother, he's a huge fish farmer. He has cages on the lake and cage fish farming. And he raises his own fish on the lake, plenty of them. And then he distributes it to these farmers who either sell it but consume it most of the time. So you find that fish is like this special, the most special thing that my tribe cooks is fish. And whether it's fried, whether it's boiled, whether, it's just made with different, meals, it's still the best thing ever. And above all, it makes you smart. That's our pride. We are very good. We're very smart because we know that we are eating healthy, and the fish oil is good for us. So yeah, you'll find that every tribe in Kenya has something that they value the most. You can go to one, and by tribe, I can say like my tribe is like, all right, I think 1.5 million people when I was living in Kenya, right? And just by one province, in Kenya, we are divided by provinces. That's like a state size. So you have a province, like the Canadians have that system, but Kenya has about 7 or 8 provinces now. So you find that there's always one tribe that's dominant, and by dominant, I mean they have the most numbers. Where I grew up, my tribe had most of the numbers, and fish was the most preferred. I'm turning down the heat because it's starting to flame a little bit, so you can tell it's getting hot. The pan is getting too hot. But anyway, fish is special. Chicken is special. We also have like ugali, which is made out of maize flour, and this is fufu in the West. West Africans call them fufu. We call them ugali in Swahili. That's the East and Central African language. Ugali is like a finger food, but it's almost the same way, made like a chapati, but it's made out of maize flour. what we call corn in this. We don't have sweet corn as much, because sweet corn, we call them maize. Sweet corn is tiny seeds. It's sweet, but it's so tiny. It doesn't fill you up easy. You have to eat a lot more of it to fill up. The maize, however, they're the big seeds. You find the big cobs, big seeds. You have one of those, you're full. It's a lot of it. So we always had that, and then you just made it like the same. You boil water in it, in a pot, and you keep adding flour until it becomes more like porridge, and then you go beyond porridge style. It becomes more like dough, like a dough. But you don't flatten it like this bread. You make it into like a big ball. Like you can make ugali as big as this, or as big as my head, right? But but you can make it different things. But I bring that one up because I want people to realize that Kenya has so much variety of food. And in fact, people just don't know, but we have so much food in Kenya because of the variety. Farming is huge, agriculture is huge, it's a thriving industry. And the fish industry is huge as well. It's also a big part of our culture. So there's plenty of options. Now, fruits, that also goes with every meal. You find fresh fruits are always on the table, always. Mangoes are the best of all things. I tell my children, the joke in my house, it's not mangoes, it's mangoes. You gotta say it right. Just like I tell them, girls, it's not zebra, it's a zebra. And they don't like that, but I still tell them, listen, I know what I'm talking about because I know we came from this place. These things come from mangoes. They're everywhere in Kenya. We had them everywhere. I can tell you a ripe mango from a mango that is not ripe from a distance, but just looking at it, right? The other day, my sister-in-law, she's in Middleton. She came to our house and she was asking me, she saw me looking at this mango and I said, this is not a good mango. This is from Costco. And then she's like, well, Jimmy, how do you know? You didn't even look, didn't even feel it. I said, well, there's one thing that you need to know about mangoes. One, if the inside seed of a mango, if you shake it and the seed moves, that's bad. You know why? Because the seed is supposed to be fleshy. It's supposed to be rooted onto the core of the inside. So when you shake the thing, it doesn't knock. But this mango was shaking. That is a sign that the mango is gone bad or it is going bad. So, and I was right. And she was like, wow, Jimmy, how did you know that? I said, I grew up with mangoes. That's how we could tell. And we had 1,000 of them to shake. You check one, if it was like, tack, 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 dumped it. So we always did that. So anyway, so my point with that is fresh foods, mangoes, bananas, tomatoes that were sliced. We had carrots, we had pineapples, and everything was fresh. This is the best part. At 6 p.m. in Kenya, everybody's at the market. 6 p.m. And there is so much food, so much variety, because here's a trick. If you want to buy food in Kenya, don't go earlier than 6. At 6 o'clock, that's when all the farmers bring all their food because they have to sell all of it. And they don't want to bring it back home. So half the time, me and my brothers would wait until, because we only had like 3 meals a day: breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Or we had tea breaks nonstop. But that was just, it was not even a meal. So anyway, at 6 p.m., we go to the markets. There's plenty of farmers with all their food. Everything is fresh. And nobody wants to bring it back home. So they would give you more. And here's the best part. You go buy you buy this much bananas and they give you this much because they don't want to carry it back. So you kind of also got used to, like, the farmers because they were in your neighborhood, they came from your same neighborhood, and you say, hey, Jimmy, I need bananas. And then they'll be like, oh, come on over. How many do you want? Like, you pay me this much, I'll give you this more extra. And it worked so well for us. I loved it. That's why we were healthy, because we had so much food, and my brother taught me that trick. I still have a lot of respect for him for teaching me that trick. But anyway, one other thing I also mentioned earlier, there's always one chapati that's left for the kitchen. It never leaves the kitchen. That's a golden rule, because if people in the kitchen love it, it's going to be loved at the table. If people don't like it, they won't like it at the table. So my mom, whether it was the first chapati that was made, or it was the last chapati that was made, or it was picked up randomly from the hot pot, we always had it. And we never brought that to the table. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to save this one because I just took it out. And here's what my mom used to do. I'll turn off the stove first, just to be safe. She would take one, you find one, random one. And another thing that I also do is, when they've been sitting, I flip them around to make sure that they don't, the top one also gets to be softer down there. So then she would just take one, put it on the table, and did this. So you just broke it down, and she would do this intentionally and spread it around everywhere and walk away. And as kids would see it, it's like a trick, right? You would see, oh, mom is not looking, right? Then you take some, you go eat that, but she was watching it, because how would she know? When she comes back, the chapati is gone. Then man, they love that chapati, This is a good sign. But if you come back after doing other stuff and this chapati is still sitting here, then either something isn't right, or they didn't see it, but they're not blind. So between the smell and the beauty of a good chapati, they can't keep their fingers away from it. And once they have one bite, my daughter does this nowadays, Adelia. This is what she does. And not just Adelia, but they both do it. So when I'm cooking over here, they'll come around, they'll see it, they'll grab one, they go hang around for a little bit, they finish it. And when they come back, the second piece,
they grab another one.
And they keep going. So, Dad, how's your day? How are and we are talking. The next thing I know, there's only one left. But they know I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm also like enjoying that they're doing that, right? At the end of the day, all the pieces are gone. That is a pass. That's how I can tell Chapatis was a success. This table is going to be lovely and people will enjoy the food. Yeah, and they never fail. They never fail. So that's my mom's measurement of success. So that one is done there. So what I do is I just take beef masala and I take a pinch of it. Yep. And then I put it into the beef. And at this point, you can just do a little bit over there. And if I have those bouillon, cubes, I can just do a little bit. This is enough. I mean, it's not too much. But yeah, so I spread it around. That may be a lot, so we'll go like that. All you ever want is the good smell out of it, and you can see, you try and make sure that you don't waste and, keep it smelling in the pot. It's better if it's saved. And yeah, and then I don't put any soup in this one because I want it to soak up all that nice smell, the flavor, all of it. I try to get all of it out of the pot, mix everything up so much that every small piece smells the same. And that's the ultimate goal. And then I'm starting to warm up the stew just a little bit, the tomato soup, because I'm going to dump the beef into the soup. And then I might also do this sometimes, because I know that the flavoring is in this pot. I take some of the soup, intentionally put it in here, mix it up again, and then dump it back into the pot. I take every ounce of the good smell into the big pot because it's so nice.
So good in here.
Yeah. You see, I didn't put salt, but if you wanted to, and it's not, nothing is wrong with salt. We just try and use a little bit, you know. And so again, I don't have a spoon for measuring this because my mom never taught us with that. So you just know just by looking. That's all I need, right? You put just enough to give it a taste. And I'm not going to put that salt in the meat. See what I'm doing?
Mm-hmm.
I don't put the salt in the meat because I don't want every meat to soak up the salt. So I'm going to put the salt into the soup. Then that way, it mixes up with the liquid and it's not going directly onto the beef. And that's what we do, you know. So at this point, it's only a waiting game for this one to be ready, but you can dump it in there. Like I said, I'm putting that pot back there because it has all my flavor. And I'm going to take the tomatoes and put the tomatoes in there. That way, with the stew, with the soup, I can steal every smell, every taste, everything that's in there, all goes back to the same pot. I might want more soup, liquid soup out of this, but I don't put water in here. I put water in here into this one because it has all the flavoring. Then I dump that in. And there we have it. Just give it a warm up. And then when it's ready, I normally use a spoon to taste it. So this is the last piece of this puzzle. It's very important to try your food as a chef. If you like your food, people will like it. If you hate your food, nobody will. So I love this. It's very good. You know, tastes very well. And yeah, that's it. That's done. Now we have food.
Thank you so much, Jimmy, for sharing so much of your story and your delicious cooking.
Yeah.
Not only tonight, but also with our classes all week. And thank you for sharing your beautiful daughter with us at Badger Rock.
Yeah.
Badger Rock,
Zuri,
sixth grader.
Yeah.
And for all you do for Badger Rock, including the governance council and all the other ways that you're connected.
No, it's a beautiful thing. You know, I love the school, and this is my type of a school. I grew up in this environment. This is the same type of a neighborhood. You know, it's very friendly. The school is just, you know, it's a good learning environment. And the fact that my daughter loves it so much as well reminds me of myself. And this to me is everything. And I love being part of this community. So this is home.
I feel the same way.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Jimmy. And thanks everyone out there for tuning in. And yeah, we will catch you all next time.
All right, thank you.